this is what we're going to set up today. We're going to set up 2 blades, one backwards and forwards, one has a sound, has some VFX, nice and easy, and one rotating blade that follows a predetermined track. So these are good for adventure games with traps, platformers, etc. But also your horror games can use these as well. If we run into it, dead. Okay. So it should be a super easy tutorial to follow. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. So we're back in our trusty third person project, all our previous stuff that we've done, and we're just going to make a little saw blade trap. So I've right clicked, created a new folder, called it saw blade. I'm just going to go to fab and get this rusty saw blade, and there it is. So we're going to go to a third person map, go to fab, get our saw blade. Where are you? Rusty saw blade, and then we'll drag it out into the world. We're just going to play to see how big that is. That's an actual saw blade. It's not really very damaging, so we're going to do a little modeling, get our modeling tool. I'm going to go to X-form, I'm going to go to transform. I'm just going to increase the size of that to 4, and then we're going to put that in the current folder and bake it, and then we're going to right click again and go play from here. That looks a little more dangerous. Excellent. So we also want to rotate it as well. So we just want to rotate it like that, just so it's -90 on the X. Click OK. And click bake again. Set that. So now when I go here, we should be able to pull it out, and that is beautiful. Excellent. Let's go back to selection. Let's control in spacebar to get back to this content browser. We're going to go back to our saw blade. We're going to right click, select blueprint class, select actor, BP, saw blade. And we're going to open that up. And in here we are going to dock this first, and then we are going to add a static mesh, and we want this to be our saw blade. Beautiful. Okay, and then we're going to go to the event graph, and we want begin play, and on begin play we want to rotate it. So we could use the rotating movement that will rotate it, and that will work. So if I pull this out into the world now and click play, that will rotate it. Rotates it the wrong way around. So if we just change this to the Y, then we can rotate it very badly. Oh, there we go. 180, put that on 0. So rotate it, and then we've got a spinning saw blade, but that won't help us when we want to move it left and right. Okay, so we're going to delete that. And then we're going to come to what we're going to do is we're going to make a new custom event. So custom event, right click, custom event. I'm going to call it move. And then we're going to call move on begin play. And we're going to add timeline. Call it the move timeline. And then we're going to add a float track. And I'm going to add a curve at 0. So right click, add it at 0, 0. Right click, add it at 1 and 1. We'll change this length up at the top to 1. And then we're going to go back to the event graph. So we're going to get this timeline, and from here we're going to lerp vector, just like that. And that's going to go to the alpha. But first we need to get the starting location of our blade. So we are going to add a cube to this, just like that, and then we're going to flatten the cube, make it smaller and make it longer. So this will be the track that our blade goes down, like that, so it reaches to the end here and comes back. Just make that a bit longer, and then we're going to add a scene component to that cube, because that will keep track of the location and that won't move. Okay, so we need to get this scene, get its location, and promote that to a variable. And we'll just call that variable start location. Just like that. Or initial location is probably better. Initial location. Just like that. And then we are going to move from our initial location to our initial location, but split. And we're going to split this one too. So right click on the actual arrows and split them. You can also recombine them. So right click on the dot, split it. We're going to stay on the same Y and Z, so we're not going to go up or across, and we're going to add to the X value. So I'm just going to add 250, like that. And from there, we are going to set relative location. And if this doesn't come up, we're just going to grab our static mesh and put it in so that there's only one static mesh in there. Now let's see what this does. Let's play. There we go. So it moves left and then doesn't stop. So we're going to get our direction here. We're going to call equals equal enum. And then we're going to get our timeline here, so move timeline, and get that. And if it's moving forward, we're going to reverse. So we're going to do a branch, drag out and press B, connect that to the finished. And if it's moving forward, we're going to go true, and we're going to drag from move timeline, select play. And if it's moving backwards, which is what it would be if it was false, because this only has two options, it would be playing. So let's go back and give that a run. There we go. So now this is only moving 250. So if we increase that there, so let's double it. So if you offset your cube a little bit here, then you will be able to achieve this result just like this. So it just needs to be offset probably like 120 on the X. And it goes back and forward a little bit. Might take a little bit of playing with, but I have the values set up to be this for 250, probably better. So we want to have our initial location, a lerp, into set relative location for our static mesh, and 300 on the distance to set that. So that, in essence, is doing the movement of what it should be doing, but it's still not spinning. Doesn't look like a saw blade very much. Right click, type in custom event. I'll call this one rotate blade. Okay, we're going to add a timeline again. We're going to call this one rotate timeline. Open this up, add another float track, right click, add curve, right click, add curve, go to 1 here, put this at 1. So actually we need to change the value of this. So this value is going to be our rotation value. So 180 or 500. I'll just put 500 because it gets a nice spin. So back to the event graph, and super simple. We're going to set relative rotation on the static mesh. We're going to split the structure there and shove that into the Y. And the Y for doing it on the Y is because when we rotate the rotation on the Y, it spins like so. Okay, so if we go back to our event graph, put it on the Y, select update there, and then go back to our begin play and call rotate blade, just like that. Compile and save. And now we've got a spinning blade that goes one way and it stops and doesn't go the other. So what we forgot here is we open up rotate timeline and select loop. And there we go, it's looping and playing and rotating each way. So that's the first bit. So now if we go to static mesh, we can add a box collision. The sphere collision doesn't really work. We go to the viewport, we've got our box. Let's make it a little bit thinner, a little bit longer. And a little bit bigger. Save that, go to the event graph, and now right click, add event, on component begin overlap with the box. Now we can just call our def message like that to kill our player when we connect. So now if we play, we can run into it, get hit and die, just like that. So that's the first bit. Now what happens if we want our blade to go around in a circle? Okay, so to do that we need to, first off, we need to add a variable, call it use spline. So go to the plus button, add a variable, make it a boolean, call it use spline, and then we need to make it instance editor and expose on spawn. And we're going to check that at begin play. So we're going to go press B here, select use spline here, and if that is false, then we're just going to rotate our blade as normal. And if that is true, then we are going to right click, custom event. I'm going to call this move along spline. Okay, so then we'll just go back up to the top and call it here, call it move along spline, just like that. And what we're going to do here is a little bit complicated, but I've done it all the maths for you, so as long as you follow this, it should be completely fine. So the first thing to do would be to add a spline component. Just going to add a spline just there. And then we're going to add timeline again. Call it spline time. Not hammer time, but not. Double click to get into it. Go to add float track. Add these curves. To select this again. Yeah. Go to 1 and 1. Make this curve also 1. And then we'll go back to event graph. We'll lerp again from here. Move this to the alpha so you can press Control and drag a pin. That'll move a line for you. So we get distance along spline at spline point, and we get number of spline points, and then we subtract 1 because this is a total number and this is an index, and index starts from 0 but this counts from 1, and that's why. and that goes into B. Okay, so we're going to move from 0 to this distance like that. So from this return value, we're going to get location at distance along spline like that, and then we are going to get our static mesh, and we're going to set relative location just like that, and that should be enough to do it for the first bit. So if we get our third person map, we select this, a little bit fiddly to select these spline points, you might have to zoom in, and then if you press Alt you can drag it out and make a spline just like that. Do this one, and then if you select the spline and go to your details, you want to select the last spline and go 0, 0, and 0, so it starts from the beginning. And then if we select this, we need to click this use spline. Now if you've not got that, it's probably because this use spline isn't ticked for instance editable in its paintball spawn. So once you tick that, it will be there. And now if we press play, it will move around. Okay, now that is very fast, it's not spinning and it's not changing to look at where we need to go. So there's a few things to fix here. First one, let's fix the play rate, or how long it's going to take. We're going to get the spline time. We're going to type in play rate. There we go, set play rate. We're going to promote this to a variable and call it play rate. And then from here, we're going to divide and plug that back in. And then we're going to press Control and move it to the bottom. We're just going to divide it by 1. Okay. Now as a minimum, this play rate will be 5. So we just need to compile it and get a default value. And we want it to be instance editable and expose on spawn, so that we can have different traps run at different play rate. So now if we run that again, it's a lot smoother, a lot slower. Still some problems. The disc isn't rotating, and it's not turning, and it's not going back to, it's not rerunning afterwards. So that's fine. We can fix the rerun really easy. We get spline again. We go play from start. Play from start. Like that. And that's why we made the spline here, the last one 0, 0, so that it would go round again. Okay. So let's fix the rotation of where it's looking, and then we'll fix the rotation of the blade as well. Pull off from spline and type in get tangent at distance along spline. So then from static mesh, we're going to get the relative rotation, and we're going to right click and split that again. Okay, we're going to add to that, so this will make the blade spin while we're going around, so we're going to add 500 to that, and then we're going to set relative rotation from here, and we're going to right click and split that again. So we're going to add the 500 to the Y so the blade will spin, and then from we're going to pull off the return value and get a rotation from X vector, just like that. I'm going to split that and put the X into here and the Y into here. And now it should change its location and follow the spline. There we go. Spin, we're going to lerp from this one. This will be our B, and we'll get the alpha from here again. We're going to get this Y and add with the add. I'm going to add 600 to this one, so, and then shove that into Y like that. So now when we play, it spins around. can see it going round and round in the right length. That corner might be a bit too sharp, and it spins the blade as well. So we can add some sound effects to this. So to do that, we need a custom event. So right click our custom event, call it effects, and we're going to call effects. In fact, first, sorry, let's hide this cube. If we're moving along the spine, we want to set the visibility to be invisible. Just like that. So it just looks like it's moving along the floor. Okay. So we want some effects, and we're going to add a scene component. We're going to call this effects. We'll call it VFX SFX. And we're going to spawn emitter attached. Yeah, this one. So then we're going to get the relative location and put that here. And we're going to choose from the realistic starter pack. Just going to choose sparks like that. Just for ease, I'm just going to put this to use the back and forward. Okay. And then location type, we're going to snap to target and keep the world scale. Right, so where is that? We're going to change the rotation to 90. And then we're going to remember to call effects here and here. There we go. So we've got some nice visual effects there. But they're not doing what we want to do. So we're going to move the visual effects alongside our thing, and we're going to swap the sides when the sides need swapping. So we're going to start this one here. So if we do that, there we go. We're just going to move it along and then move it back. And where we are moving our thing, we're going to get VFX sparks. I'm going to Control D, set the relative location for it. And then this one's a little bit more complicated because we want to swap the location depending on if it's moving forward or back. So we're going to right click new location and split. And then we're going to get a select float here. And we're going to use the forward and back part here. And from this lerp vector, we're just going to get a minus. We're just going to split that. And split it on this side as well. We're going to minus nothing. So this one can probably get deleted, but it's there just so that we know. And then from this side, we're going to plus, and we're going to just split the right side. I'm going to plus 120 and put that just here. For ease, we're going to get the initial location, split this, and shove Y and Z in there. Because we don't want it to change on there, we just want it to change on the X, depending if it's going forward or backwards. So let's connect that all up, give that a play. So it's fine on the forward and backwards, but it's not so fine on the other way. So that's plus in, so maybe we need to swap that to be minus 120 and this one to be 0, just like this. So that does work. So there we go, we'll just swap the location a little bit and that's fine. So it's a little bit fiddly. You just need to get the location proper on the VFX, and that will work. So adds a little sparks going when you do that. So then we can also spawn sound attached. We can attach that to the VFX as well, and you can get whatever sound you want to play and run while you're around as well.